everyone, today we're going to compare two sleeping pads from NEMO, the NEMO Tensor and the NEMO Flyer. It can be really hard to decide between the two, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a better idea of which sleeping pad is right for you. If you'd like to learn more about either pad, go ahead and visit the description for links of individual and full reviews of each pad. If you're new to the channel, my name's Roxy and I'm part of the Adventure Junkies team. We help people like you choose the right gear to get outdoors. If you want to learn more, go ahead and visit the website, www.theadventurejunkies.com. Now what you really came for, the NEMO Tensor versus the NEMO Flyer. So right off the bat, I want to chat about a few differences that are pretty obvious here. One is the Tensor fits right into its box still, so I have taken this out, packed it up, packed it down many times, and it still slides into its original box. It is like very slightly taller than the original box, but it still fits in there. Unlike the Flyer, who I could not get this sort of info plasticky piece back on for the life of me, so it has definitely expanded from when I originally got it. It is not as small as it was packed down, so it has grown quite a bit. I can't get this back on. So just know that the packed down version you receive is going to grow, unlike the Tensor, which is going to continue packing down into this nice small package. These are two different types of sleeping pads. So the Tensor is an inflated, insulated pad, and this is a self-inflating pad. And the biggest difference is the Flyer is going to have foam inside there, so when you open it up it's going to do a little bit of rising on its own, and then you can finish it off with a pump sack, whereas the Tensor is going to have no rise by itself. You're going to open it up and then you will have to inflate it fully with the pump sack or your mouth, either one, and we will see the difference between inflating both of them. The differences are in weight, warmth, RValue, all of that. So we will get into that. I just wanted to chat about these clear differences off the bat. Let me grab a water bottle. This is a 32-ounce water bottle, so I would call the Tensor about the size of a 32-inch water bottle. And then the Flyer, I would say about 2 water bottles across, and water bottle in some high. So if you want to use that as a way to figure out their exact packed down size, very exact, this is a good way to do it with this water bottle comparison. If your water bottle fits in the side of your backpack, that Tensor is going to fit there also, which is a pretty cool unit of measurement. It's nice and small. So a few other differences before we unpack these is that this Tensor pad, while it is inflated with a pump sack, one of the things that you give up is durability. So you've got great size, warmth, but the durability of these inflated pads can be an issue. If you puncture it while you're on the trail, you're gonna have to repair it. You cannot sleep on this pad with a hole in it. You will just be sleeping on the ground. Whereas what you give up in size, you gain in comfort and durability and stability. This is really nice, stable pad, great for side sleeping. So there are a bunch of pros and cons right off the bat for these pads. So let's go ahead and open both of these and take a look, see how hard they are to blow up, or easy. Hopefully easy is the adverb to describe blowing up these pads. So pull this guy out, set these aside. So this Tensor is one of the smallest packed down sleeping pads on the market. So we've got a really nice compact sleeping pad right here, and then the Flyer is clearly not the smallest sleeping pad on the market. We'll start with the Tensor. One thing I really like is it comes with this Velcro piece. So this Velcro piece just keeps it together in there. If you're going ultralight, you could easily not bring the bag or not bring the Velcro piece. So it's nice to have the options to cut like grams. Inside here we've got the Velcro to keep it together, the sleeping pad, and a stuff sack. And then it also comes with a repair kit. So here's your repair kit tucked in the side there. So if you were to have a hole in the backcountry, you are traveling with the repair kit as long as you have the stuff sack, and you can patch that up. A quick tip is to dunk your inflated sleeping pad in water and figure out where the bubbles are. It's not great for the sleeping pad, but it is a good way to figure out exactly where the hole is if you can't find it, if you can't hear it. But do it very early in the day because you're going to need it to dry out in order to sleep on it. So it's like a half pro tip because it's very inconvenient. So this pump sack comes with a very obvious valve here. So we will find the valve. This is a 2-plug valve. One is fully deflate and then one is inflate. So it says inflate tab, deflate tab. So I'm going to put in the inflate one. And it just sort of pops in there. Fits snugly. One of the most important things about using one of these pump sacks is that you're blowing from 6 inches away. It says right on here, place mouth 6 inches from pump sack opening and blow. So a lot of people have a tendency to just put their mouth right here, and that is not going to work nearly as well. So I'm clipping this into the valve. You direct the airflow right into the bottom of it. There we go. It fills. Lots of air with one tiny little push. That's one. Two. 3. So this is pretty pumped up. I'm going to give it one more to sort of top off all the air that'll fit in here. I'd call that 3.5. Solid 3.5. All right. And then with this guy, you have this little nozzle right here. You can decide exactly how much air you want in there. I'm going to leave it all the way pumped up, and we'll chat about why in a little bit. Let's do the flyer. Flyer also comes with a Velcro strap, which is even more important for a self-inflating pad because it will try to continue to inflate itself as you roll it down, and if you let go, it'll just like out. So it's really nice to have this extra Velcro. So as you open these self-inflating pads, which is like a little bit of a misnomer because really none of these pads actually self-inflate, I've found that you have to blow up everything. So leaning down to listen to it, you can sort of hear the foam like, it's like doing its own little inflating, but I promise you we could sit here for hours and it will never actually inflate to where you'd want to sleep on it. So I'm actually going to use the same pump sack from the Tensor on the flyer. It has the same exact system, the same exact valve system. So one deflate in here, and you can actually see the foam inside this pad. So those are a big difference between the two is there's foam inside here, whereas this is just going to be air inside. So I'm going to close it so the deflate is closed. And also, NEMO has these nice low profile valves, so nothing is sticking up at you while you're sleeping, and they're on the far side. So it's a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to pull open just the top valve. And do the same thing. Valve. Very obvious. Okay, so that was one pump sack full of air, which is awesome. Very fast to inflate if you are on the move and you just want to take the fastest nap. You can use this. I'm just going to do a little bit more just to make sure it's totally blown up. Yeah, so one pump sack, you are good. All right, so let's talk about these two sleeping pads. Once again, the Tensor is the yellow guy behind here, and the Flyer is orange in front, and I'll be switching them back and forth as we talk about them. One of the major differences here is price. The Tensor retails for $189.95, so it's 190 US dollars. It is quite a pretty penny. You really want to know that you want this Tensor before you're going to buy it. It is only one item of your sleep system, so you're going to have to do sleeping bag and pillow if you are someone that uses the pillow on top of that. So it's just going to be a lot of extras. Well, not even extras, just like a lot of money to complete your sleep system if you're already spending close to $200 on your sleeping pad. This Flyer is $119.95, 120 bucks US dollars. So still expensive, still want to know that you're making the right decision, but not as crazy of a price buy-in. So we also have a big difference in weight. So you may be paying more, but you are getting a far lighter pad. The Flyer here is 23 ounces, which is 650 grams, whereas the Tensor is just 15 ounces, which is 425 grams. So the Tensor is going to be less than a pound. Makes it very easy to count in your packing, whereas the Flyer is much more heavy, and that sort of goes into the uses of it later. We sort of suggest the Flyer is more of a car camping pad anyway, so weight doesn't really come in as an issue for that. If you are bringing it backpacking, you do need to know that it's going to be much heavier than other ultralight backpacking pads on the market, like the Tensor. So let's talk about RValue. These pads actually have pretty similar RValues. The Flyer has a RValue of 3.3, and the Tensor has an RValue of 3.5. So even though the Tensor packs down way smaller, it actually has a warmer RValue, and it's due to a few things. One of them is just plain thickness. Here you can see the Flyer is at 2 inches and the Tensor is at 3 inches, so you're a whole nother inch off the ground. And if you aren't familiar with RValue, it is a system to determine warmth of soft goods. So sleeping pads, sleeping bags, they all have RValues. It's in a range from 0 to 6 plus. So we have seen sleeping pads that have an RValue of 6 plus, over 6, and those would be pads you could use to sleep all season round in the deep snow, in the Arctic, wherever you're going. They will keep you warm. These pads are in like the mid threes, and I would call both of these pads 3-season-ish sleeping pads. So I am a cold sleeper, so these pads will probably work for me both late spring into early fall, and I'll be fine throughout the summer using either of these. My partner is a very warm sleeper, so he could probably extend the use of these RValue 3.3 and 3.5 further earlier in spring and later in fall, just because he is warmer, so he doesn't need as much protection between himself and the ground. And that is mostly what's happening when you sleep directly on the ground. It is pulling your warmth from you, so what you're putting between you and the ground is what's keeping you warm. It's stopping the transfer from your warmth into the ground, as well as reflecting it back up into you. So a ton of pads do it in different ways. Even though this is thinner, it has the foam in it, so it's a little bit better at reflecting, even though you're losing the height. And also these valleys and peaks are supposed to help with trapping warm air in the valleys, and the warm air keeps you warmer instead of having to keep warming the air like this Tensor that's right under you inside the sleeping pad. So let's chat about size. These are actually both the same size, 72 inches long, which is 183 centimeters, by 20 inches wide, which is 51 centimeters. And you may be like, what are you talking about? These are different sizes. And yes, they are, because the Flyer is a mummy-shaped pad, so it tapers down at your feet, which is really great when you have a tent that also tapers. So if you have two sleeping pads next to each other, they both taper, and then you can fit your pads nicely. Whereas this is the rectangle shape. If you do line them up perfectly, you can see at the shoulder area, it is actually 20 centimeters wide, and then from end to end is the same. So the flyer does look smaller, but it does actually have the same dimensions. So both of these pads are made out of 20D polyester, which is a really nice fabric. It's thin, so you're going to save weight, but it is a little less durable than other polyesters out there. So you are going to want to watch for punctures on both pads. It's going to be more of an issue on this pad because you will just lose all warmth if this pad deflates. I did want to say why I inflated them fully. In order to get the full R value of these pads, you do need a full inflation of both. The more air you let out, the less air you're going to have between you and the ground, and that will lower the R value. So if you need a warm night, make sure to blow it up all the way. Feeling wise, I would say the flyer has a nicer texture to it, something that I could put my face right down on, whereas the Tensor has more of that plasticky feel, even though they are both made out of that polyester, the same polyester. Has a little bit more plastic. I would definitely want like a layer between me and the Tensor. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit the like button so more people like you can find it. All right, let's, I want to lay on them and see how they feel. All right, we'll do the Tensor first. So I'm 5'6", just as a precursor, so you can see how long it is. Pretty stable. Stable near the edges. Not too noisy. Comfy. Really nice on my side. I'm not feeling any hot spots on my hips or my shoulders. It does slide a little bit, so if you are camping on an incline of any sort, you might be a little worried about this sliding, especially with a slippy sleeping bag on top of it. So just keep that in mind if you're camping in less than ideal situations, which is often in the backcountry. So let's try out the flyer and see how it feels in comparison. Comfy. I would say comfier. I don't like that it's a little skinnier. My arms are hanging off because of that mummy cut. Yep, super comfy on the side. Pretty stable near the edges. Not noisy at all. And also, one of the things I really like about the flyer is it has these rubbery pieces on the bottom, and that keeps you from slip sliding anywhere. So if you were on a hill or slight incline at all, your sleeping pad will stay in place, and as long as your sleeping bag is connected to your sleeping pad, it will stick to the ground. I do like that there's two sets of these. Sometimes sleeping bags have like a cuff that goes over, and that will cover up this rubber and make it obsolete. So it's nice to have two sets. All right, so let's pack both these pads down and see how they do. I do know that there's going to be a big difference between the two. Self-inflating pads are just harder to pack down in general, and then the Tensor is known as a pad that's easy to pack down. It dumps air very quickly, and you're good to go. So let's do both. So that's the air dumping. I can see it. Oh yeah. Folds in thirds. And done. Look how small it is. So cute. I like to determine how annoying something is to pack down on if I wouldn't mind doing it day after day on a through hike. And that was very stress-free. and it slides right into a stuff sack with extra room. Incredible. And now, my arch nemesis. Also dumps some air. Let me open it. So mostly you just have to like use your legs to hold it while you, and if you don't have like a tarp or something to do this on, you're in the backcountry. This is like super annoying. Okay, only looked okay because I've done it so many times. I promise you it's not fun. But that is the nature of a self-inflating pad. All right. All right, so let's just sort of go over a few stats to wrap this up here. One of the big differences between the two is price. The Tensor is $119.95, while the Flyer is $189.95. So you've got a $70 difference here. You are getting a lot of features with this, so I understand the higher price. But if you are basing solely off price, the Flyer is gonna be your best bet. While both pads are super comfortable, I would say the Flyer is the more comfortable of the two. It has a better material, like skin to material feel, as well as like a nicer laying down bed feel. It feels more like a mattress at home than something you are just using in the backcountry to try and sleep. The R values are pretty similar. This has an R value of 3.5, that's the Tensor, and the Flyer has an R value of 3.3. So negligibly different, although the Flyer is a way bigger pad to have a similar R value. So I would say the Tensor wins out in that scenario. Both pads are easy to inflate, but the Flyer only takes one stuff sack full of air, whereas this was 3 plus like a tiny little bit of additional air. The big difference is packing them down. The Tensor is way easier to pack down, and I would not be upset doing that over and over and over again during a thru hike, whereas the Flyer is a struggle, and I would be super annoyed and throw it in a lake after a day. So the Tensor is gonna win out in packability, and also just like how small it is. It's this tiny little thing. It's the size of my face. So who are these pads for? If you are a thru hiker, if you're an ultralight hiker, if you are spending most of your time outdoors, if you're in the backcountry often, this is the pad for you. It is super lightweight. Once again, we had 15 ounces for this one, and you could stuff it into like the side pocket of your pack. You don't even know it's there. And it's comfortable, it's stable, it's a little slippy, the material isn't as comfy, but it's a great pad. If you are looking for something that is a compromise between a backcountry and front country pad, so if you are mainly car camping and then you have a few nights in the backcountry, but you only want to purchase one pad, this is a great pad to get, because while it is bigger and bulkier, it's still super comfy, it has a great R value, and it's going to be really comfy in the front country when weight doesn't matter. So you'll be able to bring it with you in the back of the car and have a really nice sleeping pad when you are car camping. So that was the NEMO Tensor versus the NEMO Flyer. Happy camping! Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have ever wasted money on gear in the past or just don't know what gear to buy, I really want to recommend this book. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Hiking Gear, and it has breakdowns and explanations of all the gear you'll need to get safely outside. It's organized into gender, size, weight, what type of hike you'll need it for, and it's really helpful for any beginner out there, or even someone who's more advanced but wants more suggestions on how to enjoy your time outside. You can buy it at Amazon, and it's available in both paperback and Kindle. Go ahead and click the link below in the description and check it out.